Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we're going to start this Makkot stop Gimel. We are going to begin on the very bottom of Beis with Beis. So we were learning that there are four different cases in which Edom Zaymin, plotting witnesses, even though they had a certain thing that they wanted to do, we're not going to do the exact same back thing to them if they turn out to be plotting witnesses. Namely, the two in our Mishnah, that of Ben Grush Ben Chutza, or saying that the person killed B'Shogeg, therefore he's Chayiv Galus. And we also mentioned two other cases regarding that this person will not have to pay kofar if he says that your Shor HaMuad killed someone. And also we do not have to sell him as an Eved Ivri if he accused someone of stealing. Now Rabbi Kiva came up with a third answer, and this is we're going to continue. Rabbi Kiva said, Af in Mishalman al pi atzmai. He also does not have to pay al pi atzmai. Rashi says, Im huzmu bebeistin. Let's say a person becomes an Eid Zayim in Beisim. V'hispik bal din la'amida medin al hazmasan an shibarchu. The guy ran away, and then uval Beisim Achim went to another Beisim. B'hoidu shehuzmu bebeisim ploini. And he admits that he actually was an Eid Zayim. So let's understand this. So my time Rabbi Kiva, why would he not have to pay in that case? Ksavar kanasahu. The whole notion of Edom Zaymin is that it is considered to be kanas. The kanas and mishal manahui atzmai. When it comes to kanas, you cannot pay from yourself. It's only by mumming. It says Rashi, Dechsiv Gabi Kevel Asher Yershuno Kim Prat L'Marshias Atzmai. The only time you have to pay Kefel is if you're accused of stealing, which is obligation for Geneva, not just to pay back the object, the Karen, but also Kefel, double that amount, which is Kanas. So the Pasuk says that you are considered to be guilty by the courts, excluding if you're Marshias Atzmo. So when it comes to Kanas, we see from the Pasuk that you cannot pay Kanas al Piatzmi. So this case of Edom Zayim is a case of Kanas. So Amar and I'll prove this to you. Shahari will asamaisim the haragin mishalman, that even though the Edom didn't do anything, they didn't actually kill anyone, they can be killed. Or even though they didn't owe money, they still now owe money. So it's kanas. Amar Nachman Teda, I'll also prove shahari mamun biad balam mishalman. The money is in the hands of the owner, and still they have to pay. In other words, as they were not found to be credible witnesses, so they were not successful in actually doing what they wanted to do. So no one actually lost money, but nonetheless they have to lose money. As we continue on off. So Mindy, who do lo so Maisa, so Hundred Rabbi. It's really something the same thing. You're answering right. An Eid Zayim will have to pay according to his portion. Now what does that mean? That let's say you have the two witnesses. So each one pays half of the claim. Tanina, we already learned, Mishal Shilin B'Maman, V'en Mishal Shilin B'Malchus. Let's say, for example, you have three people, and the three people are Edom Zaymin. So we don't say, if they're Chayiv Malchus, that we give each one only 13 lashes. No, each person gets Malchus. However, when there's a Chayiv Mammon, we split the Mammon up. So therefore, they don't have to pay 100, 100, 100, but they split it up 33 each. So we already know that, even though that is true, but that wouldn't be a chiddush because we already learned it. Now, Kagayin, what instead must be the situation? Kagayin the itzum chad minayu. Let's say these two witnesses became Eid Zayim. The Mishal Pali day that since you are an Eid Zayim, so you at least have to pay your half. So is that true? Mi Mishal Hatanya we learn Ein Eid Zayim Mishal Mamay now she is a Mishnayan. It has to be that both of the witnesses are Edom Zaymin. If only one of the two, then they don't have to pay anything. So that can't be what it means either. So Maramba, it's the following. Ba'omer Eidah Sheker Hidati. So he says that I gave false testimony. In fact, what right do you have to change your testimony? We believed the first time. Why would we believe the second time? El Ba'omer he done of Huzma bebesin ploini. Actually, what they did was they said that we testified, we were found to be Edom Zaymin in a different court, and again they ran away, and now they're saying this in court number 2. Now, come on, don't Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva ha'omer af Edom Mishal al pi atzmai. right? He says that you're not Mishal Mal Piatzmo because it's considered to Kanas. and you can't be moed knas potter. Ella b'oimer hidanu v'huzmu b'beis pliny v'chayvinu mamoin. So once there's already chiyuv mamoin, so maybe in that situation there's no longer considered to be knas. It's now a din mamoin. You would think that since your friend can't be mechayiv you, so you also can't be mechayiv yourself kamashmon. Says Rashi, the fact that you said this language, v'chayvinhu mamoin, now it's no longer a din kanas. Now it's just a din you have an obligation to pay money. The ein zem arshias atzmo shekvar hishuhu elokim. The court's already made you this way. However, your friend is not going to be believed in mechayiv. The inu neman al chavero. You can't be testifying against your friend, but therefore maybe it wouldn't work on yourself either. Kamashwan, that is what the chiddush is. Question 7. Rav, my kamashwan Rav mishalshlin b'mamoin. So, as we said, it's talking about where he said, I testified we became Edom Zaymin and we're also Chai Mamoin, which now is not Knas anymore. That you would think, since your friend, you can't be Machai your friend based on this testimony for him to pay, so his half, so maybe you're not Chayiv either, Kamash Mu'ah. So that is the Chiddush here. Okay, let's look also at question TV5, which seems to be identical. I wrote like this: Im echad min ha'edim. If let's say one of the edim come, it's TB5. If one of the witnesses come, shehu chayiv l'shalei mamin, to pay mamin. Av zeh lo kanas el mamin. Bebeis den acher hu tzarech l'shalom es achel shaloi. Alva bi shaloi neman al chelek shel chavera. Okay. Acceptable answer. Okay, let's keep on going. Let's see now one of the more challenging sugyas in this not such challenging Masechta. Says next Masdisen. You testify about a man that he divorced his wife. And then part of you testifying that he divorced his wife is that he's chayiv now to give a ksuba. Now, therefore, a ksuba is money. So v'loy nasan lo ksubasa, right? He didn't give us ksuba. So the question is, now that maybe they have to pay the husband the entire value of the ksuba that he had to pay, but that's not the case because whether sooner or later, there's a great likelihood that a ksuba is going to have to be given. So, for example, out of the 3 scenarios, if you divorce your wife, you have to give her ksuba. If the man dies, so then his yorshim have to pay for the ksuba. The only time that you don't have to pay ksuba is if she dies before the man. So because of that, you shouldn't have a chiyuv to have to pay the entire ksuba. So oim did we evaluate? Kama adam writes alitin b'ksubasa shelzu. How much does the person want to give for this ksuba? Shem this armel and this garsha if she becomes widowed or divorced, and it actually is worth something. V'meisa, but if she dies first, you're shenabal, then her husband inherits it, and therefore you would lose out. So you have the ability to actually sell this ksuba like any note, and it's almost like a form of speculation of what will happen. Because if she dies first and you're holding that ksuba, it's worthless because there's no ksuba to be collected. However, in the event that she gets divorced, or in the event that he dies first, so then you holding the ksuba has value, and therefore that's how we assess it. But the Gemara wants to understand this a little bit better. Kate said Shayman. How exactly do we go through this entire process? So there's a massive Rashi over here, which we're not going to see, but it is Kedai to see. Rav Chisda bebal. So Rav Chisda says we have to imagine bebal, to imagine that you are in his situation. Schus, based on his schus, veko shel baal, einin kamadim roitz litain boy, how much he would want to give to him to be like the husband, v'oiso yitnu hazayman, and that one needs to be given to the hazayman. So the husband, again, you would have to envision what would the benefit be for him, because the husband has certain rights to the land, and therefore, based on the suffix, you evaluate him. That's answer number 1. Rav Nasan bar Aisha Omer B'isha. Look at the woman. Again, what happens? We have to figure out, in her situation, what is the chances of her getting the ksuba or not. Okay? And then lastly, Rav Papa B'isha B'ksubasa. A woman and her ksuba. What does that mean? So Rashi says that based on the sheet of Rav Nasan bar Aisha. So first of all, we have over here Rav Nasan Omer B'isha Schus Sveika Rav Papa B'isha Shamin K'Rav Nasan B'ksubasa Lo Yashlimu. We don't pay the ksuba. Ela ha'oidet b'ksubasa, the extra al hadam below lo nichsim ulug. Rashi says, not her nichsim ulug. That which normally she brings into the home. She owns the land and he has rights to the paros. Yavol b'shaf nichsim ulug hayu mafsidin oiso beidusan. The truth is, the husband's losing out by if he's divorced, he can no longer benefit from her nichsim ulug. Mil echel paros b'chayeha, to enjoy eating her fruits. To inherit these lands when she dies. Amish Shalman, that doesn't count. Because they always say, Anu Hedanu Ela al Ksubasa. I was only testifying regarding the Ksuba. I never even knew she had Nichsim Ulug. So it's interesting. By the Nichsim Ulug, even though he's losing out by his testimony, so that should be part of the Cheshbon, but they could just say, they didn't know he had Nichsim Ulug. She had Nichsim Ulug. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. Someone says you owe $1,000. That you're going to pay me back in 30 days. There's no question. It's true, the loan was going to, I agree, I owed $1,000, but the loan was not for 30 days, it was for 10 years. So the question is, what happens to Ayim? Because Sof goes Sof, the guy still owes $1,000. So Ayim didn't come out of Meritz Elitin Vihi Biyado Elv Zuz Ben Nis Nice the Mekan Viad Lamed Yoim Ben Nas the Mekan Viad Eser Shanim. Basically, we look at what added benefit is there, monetary added benefit would a person pay in order to be able to have longer access to this money, and that is the amount that the Adam would need to pay. Says Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Hamavis Chaveru Eser Shanim. If you lend money to your friend for 10 years, Shvius Mishmatasai. We know that in addition to, as we continue to give them the bays, that there's Shmitas Karkais, that you can't work the land on the sabbatical year. There's also a din of Shmitas Ksafim, that when it comes to a loan, all those loans get canceled once Shemitah comes. Now, V'afa Gab Dahashtolo Karinin Beylo Yigois, even though right now on Shemitah we don't apply the concept of don't pressuring, Sov asili de lo yigois. Eventually we'll come to the din of lo yigois. In other words, says Rashi, B'shvius lo karin be lo yigos shahari imba lenagsha below shvius nami yochol. So you can't collect anyway because the loan is due in so many more years. So even though there's no concept of pressuring someone, please pay me back, you owe me the money now, the loan is matured, nonetheless there's still a din of lo yigois, because it's Saifasli de Yigois, which basically means that even though the loan is not just up until the Shemitah, but it's way past Shemitah, it's like a 30-year loan, so the din is, no, it gets canceled by the first Shemitah, and that's it. So that sounds fine until we understand this Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, Masav Rav Kahana, Oimdim Kaman, right to Litin, Vihu, Elav Zuz, Biyada, Ben Litin, Mekan, Biad, Esher, Vlad, Lamed, Yoim, Ben Litin, Mekan, Biad, Esher, Shanim. Our Mishnah said that when it comes to a loan, there is taka loan that can last for 10 years. Now, so what he's trying to do is he should have to pay the entire thing, because what's happening? They're claiming his edus was that that this guy owes this guy $1,000 to pay back in 30 days. Now, that is an actual amount of money that you have to pay. But the truth is for 10 years. So the question is, 10 years you don't have to pay anything. So therefore, they were actually trying to make him lose the entire $1,000 because he wouldn't have to pay it back. So how do we understand that we do the difference? The answer is that sometimes Shemitah is not Mishaman. When is that? Says the Gemara, Rava, Hakamaiskinan, but Mamalvel Mashkain Umosha Strassel Based. A person who gives a loan, but by also when he gives a loan, he also it's credited, right? He ends up, it's a secured loan where they take also some type of property or something along those lines. So since the lender, the Malva gave the lender $1,000, but also in return the Levi gave the Malva something of value, so therefore in that case Shemitah is not Mishamet. Also, when it comes to being Moshe Strassel Basin, the Basin's involved, for example, in the writing of a prosbul, so then no longer is it an issue because it's not a private loan, it's linked to the basin. Did not. There's no din, Shemitah is not Misham. Some say like this. You lend money for 10 years in Shmias Mishmatasai. Shmias will not be Mishamet, which means it can keep going. Because the Afagav the Asali de Ligos Hashtami Lokrin Boligos. So Taka the din is that no, if you lend for 10 years, there is no din of not being able to collect because there's no din loigos. So I'm Rav Kahana Afanam Tanina. I'm din Kamadam Roitz Litin Vihu Elv Zuz Biadai, Bain Litain Mikan Viad Lamed Yoim, Bain Litain Mikan Viad Eseshanim. So our Mishnah is a riot to that. The fact is that all you have to do is pay the difference between a 30-day loan and a 10-year loan, which is mashma, the 10-year loan works, that the Shemitah is not mishamet. Because v'yamrit shvius mishmataso, kulanami boy shlum milei. So our Mishnah is actually now not as a kasha, but based on the second lashon as a raya. So Omer Rava, no hakmaskina malva mashkin, which is strassel based on. Our Mishnah is talking about these exceptional cases that none. Malva al mashkin, which is strassel based in mashmitin, fine. V'yam Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. Ha'imro chaver almanash lo tishmateni shvius. The person says on condition that shvita is not mishamet, then shvius mishametas. Shvius will still stop it. It doesn't make any difference. Your language is a language where you're saying it doesn't exist. Well, shvita does exist, and therefore you can't do it because you're being masla mashkas of a Torah. So leimik sever Shmuel masla mashkas of a Torah who b'chol masla mashkas of a Torah today bottle. So clearly that must be the case. You can't say a condition which goes against the words of the Torah. What do you mean? But we learned that it should not be upon me, ona. Not that ona doesn't exist, but there should be no ona for me, which means that the din of me charging you beyond the shtus of a sixth, this mekach should still be kayu. We're not going to say the mekach is bottle. So Rabbi Emer yesh l'vana, Shmuel ein lo l'vana. The Shmuel was explained like this: because since you're on the Gavra, so on me there's no din ona. It doesn't mean I'm denying what the Torah says. There is ona in the Torah, but which is not going to apply to me. So that actually will work. That there just doesn't exist ona. No, that on the hefts of ona, then that you can't do. Hakanami, same thing when it comes to shmita. If you say that I don't want shmita to work for me, I don't want shmita to be mishamet for me, so then taka, that's good tonight. In shvius mishmataso, amanashol tishmeteni shvius mishmataso. Fine. Tana. If a person lends money without mentioning any time, you can't ask for the loan back with less than 30 days. It's got to be at least a 30-day loan. Maybe it's only by a written document. The cost of star, because who's going to write a star for less than 30 days? When it comes to an oral loan, low. This is what my uncle said. It doesn't make any difference. Even by milval peh, the din is it's 30 days. There's no difference. Do not sit on your knees. In other words, don't relax until you explain to me the following sugya. That you have to wait for 30 days. Why? Where do we see that? I'll tell you, because the pasuk says like this. What happens when the year of Shemitah is coming close and this guy owes you money? Now, that's close to the 7th year. We all know the 7th year is the sabbatical year, is the Shemitah. Why does the pasuk say that? It seems to be redundant. That there's another type of loan which is comparable to the closeness of it's getting close to Shemitah, so we're going to say it's 30 days. Why? 30 days is like a year. So when we say it's getting close to the 7th year, it means that we're about a month away, and therefore it's alluding to this fact that a loan has to be released for 30 days. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's look at question 8. So again, that's what we just said. So you have to at least wait 30 days because that's considered like a year. TA4 so that sounds pretty clear. It sounds like a clean Mishnah, but it's obviously that's not all they want. So if you hold that the whole Shemitah would be Mishal, but the whole thing is paid. Etc. So it's a little bit of a twist that they're asking. It's even though it sounds pretty cleanly, it's like talking about the Mishnah, but it's not true because it's possible that, as we saw in the Kasha, that it's Dafka our Mishnah is because it's a situation. It's a situation where it was Malval Mashkoin or something along those lines, or there was a prusbul. However, if not, TA4, then maybe Taki, you're right, that if you hold Yamrit Shvius Mishmatasai, Kulnami Boy Shulmule, that's actually what they want us to also answer. Adkan.